Have you ever noticed that there are people who seem to manifest everything they desire, almost as if they were touched by a magical force? The majority live fighting while a few conquer with elegance and naturalness. This difference is neither luck nor coincidence. It is the result of a hidden principle that few have discovered, but that Wallace D. Wattles revealed more than a century ago. This man, who lived between 1860 and 1911, uncovered the greatest secret of human creation. Something so simple and at the same time so profound that it forever changed the lives of those who understood it. And that secret is the existence of a universal thinking substance that responds directly to our thoughts. There is a thinking substance from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. These words, written by Wattles in his masterful work, The Science of Getting Rich, reveal a truth that remains invisible to the eyes of most. What is most impressive is not just the existence of this substance, but the way it behaves. While most of us were taught that the material world is solid, fixed, and separate from us, Wattles discovered that reality is living, responsive, and shaped by human thought. Have you ever stopped to reflect on the true power you possess? Think about it. Every thought you consistently hold in your mind is not just an abstraction. It is a real substance that creates an impression on the universal field of creation. Most people live like a king who has forgotten his crown and beg on the streets of his own kingdom. They live lamenting the lack of resources while carrying the master key to creation in their own minds. They know the power of words, actions, and luck, but they ignore the power of sustained conscious thought. Wallace Wattles was not just a philosophical theorist. He was a practical man who tested his principles in his own life, transforming himself from a common worker with financial difficulties into a prosperous and influential man. He lived every page of his own teachings. What you are about to discover is not a new theory, but an ancient truth rediscovered and articulated for the modern world. A truth that explains why some people manifest prosperity with apparent ease, while others, equally talented and hardworking, remain trapped in cycles of struggle and scarcity. We are on the verge of a revelation that could completely transform your perception of the power you already possess. A power that does not need to be acquired, just recognized and consciously applied. A power that resides in the direct relationship between your thoughts and the thinking substance that forms all reality. The truth is that you are already creating your reality in every moment. The question is, are you creating it by default or by design? Are you manifesting it consciously or by accident? Because once you understand what Wallace D. Wattles revealed about thinking substance, you will never see your thoughts, your life, or your potential the same way again. The basis of all of Wallace D. Wattles' revelation is profoundly monistic. There's only one original substance from which everything is made. This concept revolutionizes our fragmented understanding of reality. There are no multiple sources of creation, but only one source that expresses itself in infinite forms. This thinking substance is intelligent, alive, and in constant creative movement. She doesn't just exist, she thinks. And when you think, you create. Imagine an infinite ocean of creative intelligence, where every wave, every drop, every current holds the complete essence of the whole. Now imagine that you are not separate from this ocean. You are an individualized expression of it, with the same creative power in your own consciousness. What science began to discover about the nature of matter comes close to what Wattles already understood through direct experience. What appears solid is actually energy vibrating in specific patterns. What seems fixed is actually constant flux, and what seems separate is deeply interconnected. Have you ever wondered where your thoughts come from? When a sudden inspiration lights up your mind, what is the true source? Wattles understood that our thoughts are not entirely ours. We are receiving and transmitting centers of this universal intelligence. When we think, something much greater than our individual mind is thinking through us. Thinking substance permeates everything. It is in the air you breathe, in the walls around you, in the seemingly empty space between objects. There is no place where this substance is not present. And the most extraordinary thing is that this substance responds to thought, not just divine thought, but your thought. We are like drops in the ocean that have forgotten that they are an ocean. We limit our identity to the momentary form we take, forgetting our unlimited nature. A fish that was born and lived only in salt water has no concept of water. For it is simply the natural environment. Likewise, we are so immersed in thinking substance that we take it for granted, without realizing its transformative potential. When you think, who's really thinking? When you create, what are you really creating? The answer transcends our ordinary understanding of identity. It's not just your physical brain generating electrical impulses. It is thinking substance expressing itself through you, as an individualized center of creative consciousness. The great ignorance of humanity is not about the external world, but about our true nature. We spend entire lives studying things, people, and phenomena as if they were separate from us, when in fact they are expressions of the same substance that constitutes us. The apparent distance between observer and observed is the great illusion. Wattles understood that this one substance is alive and thinking everywhere. There is no portion of her that is dead or unconscious. All matter is an expression of the universal mind. Therefore, when you form a clear and sustained thought, you are not just altering your subjective perception, you are literally beginning a creative process in the substance that forms everything. Imagine the profound shift in perspective. You are not trying to attract things from a separate, external world. You are imprinting thought patterns on the universal substance that is already within you, around you, and beyond you. This understanding changes everything: your relationship with your goals, with your challenges, and with the manifestation process itself. The real revolution in Wattles' understanding begins when we realize that thoughts are not powerless abstractions. They are causative forces that imprint patterns on thinking substance. A thought formed in your mind, when held with clarity and conviction, becomes a mold that universal substance fills with physical correspondence. There is, however, a crucial distinction between casual thinking and intentional thinking. Most people live on mental autopilot, reacting to circumstances, worrying about the past, fearing the future. This random thinking creates an equally random life. Intentional thinking, on the other hand, is held consciously, with defined purpose and clarity, and this is what activates the creative power of substance. When you form a clear mental image of what you want to create, something extraordinary happens. This image is imprinted on the thinking substance like a seal on malleable wax. The substance, being intelligent and alive, immediately begins to reorganize itself according to this image. We are not talking about magic, but a natural process, as natural as gravity or magnetism. We just don't perceive it because it operates beyond the five senses. A woman named Ellen lived an ordinary life, working a job she tolerated, with superficial relationships and perpetually tight finances. From the outside, he looked like just another person surviving in a challenging world. But something changed when she encountered Wattles' teachings. She began to understand that she was thinking according to appearances, reacting to what she saw around her, perpetuating the very conditions she wanted to change. The big revelation for Eleanor came when she realized that she could choose to think about the truth rather than appearances. Thinking about the truth means keeping in mind the image of what you want to create, even when all external evidence suggests otherwise. It's not denying the current reality, but refusing to let that reality define your future thoughts. A thought sustained in the thinking substance produces the form of that, which is imagined by the thought. This realization changed everything for Eleanor. She began taking time daily to visualize not only what she wanted, but how she would feel when she had it. I wasn't just daydreaming. I was consciously imprinting a new pattern on the universal substance. How much of your daily thinking is actually creating what you want? If we tracked our thoughts for a day, many of us would be shocked to discover how many hours we spent worrying, irritated, anxious, or simply distracted. Each of these mental states is imprinting something on the thinking substance. It is no coincidence that our lives often reflect our predominant internal dialogue. The process of manifestation through thinking substance follows a defined pattern. Clear thought gives impression on substance, gives reorganization of substance into thought form, gives manifestation in physical reality. This process may take time to complete on the physical plane, but it begins instantly the moment a thought is formed. This is why some people seem to have constant good luck, while others face challenge after challenge. It's not luck, it's the natural result of prevailing thought patterns. Substance responds equally to conscious or unconscious, positive or negative thought. She doesn't judge or choose, she just responds. The good news is that you can start changing these patterns right away. It is not necessary to understand all the mechanisms, just as we do not need to understand how electricity works to light a light bulb. What matters is practical application, becoming aware of the thoughts you regularly hold, and beginning to intentionally direct them toward what you want to create. This is the true art of conscious manifestation, not as an esoteric concept, but as a practical science that anyone can apply. Wallace D. Wattles discovered this to be a universal law, as reliable as gravity. Thinking substance always responds to thought, always. The only question is, what kind of thinking are you offering? Now that we understand the existence of thinking substance in its responsive power, a fundamental question arises. How do we effectively communicate with it? Wallace D. Wattles revealed 3 essential principles that form the basis of this communication. First, you must deeply believe in the existence of this intelligent substance from which everything proceeds. These, not as an abstract concept, but as a living and present reality. Second, you need to accept that this substance will respond to your desires, giving you everything you ask for with clarity and conviction. Third, and perhaps most transformative, you must relate to this substance through a deep and ongoing feeling of gratitude. Gratitude is not just a pleasant emotion. It is a vibrational state that opens a direct channel with universal substance. When you feel gratitude in advance for what you want, as if you have already received it, you create a frequency that thinking substance recognizes and responds to. Gratitude is the fertilizer that fertilizes the seeds of your thoughts in the fertile land of universal substance. To communicate clearly with this substance, you need to form definite mental images. Vague desires produce vague results. Thinking substance responds to precision. When you visualize, don't just worry about material things, include how you will feel, who will be with you, what difference it will make in your life. The more vivid and multisensory your image, the stronger the impression on the substance. There's a crucial difference between desiring something and commanding its creation. Wanting implies lack. You want something because you don't have it. Commanding arises from the certainty that it is already yours on the invisible plane, awaiting only physical manifestation. It's the difference between asking for a gift and withdrawing funds from your own bank account. Both result in receiving something, but the energetic relationship is totally different. Wattles discovered a fundamental principle in communicating with substance. It responds most powerfully when we believe we have already received what we asked for. It is not pretension or self-deception. It is understanding that on the plane of thinking substance, past and future merge into the eternal now. What you visualize with conviction already exists as an energetic pattern, before it even takes on physical form. This concept creates what Wattles called a mental vacuum, a receptive space, that attracts fulfillment. Nature abhors a vacuum, and thinking substance naturally flows to fill the space created by your clear intention. It's like opening a window in a closed room. Fresh air comes in naturally, effortlessly. Imagine an architect creating detailed plans for a building. Before any bricks are laid, the building already exists in plan form. Likewise, your visualizations are the blueprints that thinking substance will use to construct your reality. Invisible construction always precedes visible manifestation. This is the universal law that Wattles revealed. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. This ancient truth takes on new meaning in the light of thinking substance. Your faith is not just a psychological state. It is literally the creative substance forming according to your expectations. And gratitude is the nutrient that feeds this substance, accelerating and amplifying its manifestation. Many fail to manifest because they divide their mental energy. They ask for one thing but fear another. They desire success but question their worthiness. They visualize prosperity but worry about scarcity. Substance responds to the dominant vibration, not to intermittent desires. Therefore, Consistency in your thoughts is as important as their clarity. Wallace D. Wattles' revelation goes beyond thought. It integrates action as an essential component of the creative process. There's a crucial balance between correct thinking and efficient action. One without the other is like applauding with one hand. There's movement, but the impact is missing. Thinking the right way means maintaining a clear vision of what you want to create, regardless of your current circumstances. Acting the right way means taking inspired actions that arise naturally from this aligned thinking. Note that Wattles does not speak of quantity of action, but of quality, efficient action versus mere frantic movement. A common mistake is to believe that manifestation is just passive visualization. Wattles was emphatic: action is indispensable. However, not any action. Action aligned with thinking substance has a distinctive quality. It arises from inspiration, not despair, of abundance, not scarcity, of trust, not of fear. How to differentiate inspired action from action motivated by fear? Inspired action energizes, even when challenging. Action based on fear drains your life energy. One brings a feeling of expansion, the other of contraction. One flows naturally, the other requires constant effort. Learn to recognize this subtle but crucial difference in your body and emotions. Henry was a hard-working salesman, often taking more calls and meetings than any colleague, but his results were average, leaving him frustrated and exhausted. When he discovered Wattles' principles, he realized he was doing it the wrong way. Driven by fear of failure, anxiety about bills to pay, the need to prove himself. Henry's transformation began when he understood the principle of efficiency versus quantity. He stopped chasing every potential client and began visualizing himself as a valuable advisor who naturally attracted ideal clients. His action became focused not on convincing, but on genuinely serving. Paradoxically, by working less but in the right way, his results doubled in a few months. Wattles emphasized a principle that few understand: always do more than you are paid to do, not out of exploitation, but because this attitude puts you in harmony with the expansive nature of thinking substance. Giving more than you receive creates a vacuum that substance naturally fills with greater abundance. A seed contains two essential elements: the inner vision of what it will be, a complete tree encoded in its DNA, and the natural action of growing through the soil. Without any of these elements, nothing manifests. You are like that seed. You need both the clear vision and the natural action that arises from it. Right thinking without action is sterile. Action without correct thought is distractive. When both align, you become a perfect conduit for the creative power of thinking substance. It's like a river that has found its natural course. It flows effortlessly, but with immense transformative power. Manifestation is not the result of force, but of alignment. When your thought and action are in harmony with the nature of thinking substance, you do not need to push the river, you become the river. This is the essence of what Wattles called living the right way, in conscious agreement with the laws of creation. Why do some people understand these principles but still fail to manifest what they want? Wallace D. Wattles identified specific blocks that prevent effective manifestation through thinking substance, subtle obstacles that many do not even realize they carry. The first and most common blockage is contradictory thoughts. You visualize prosperity in the morning, but spend the day worrying about bills. Claims perfect health, but secretly fears illness. He declares confidence, but internally doubts himself. These contradictory patterns create interference in transmission to thinking substance, like static on a telephone line. Chronic doubt acts like acid on the creative process. Substance responds to your dominant conviction, not your momentary desires. If you alternate between faith and doubt, you create an inconsistent vibration that produces equally inconsistent results. Doubt is not just a psychological state. It is a real force that dissolves the thought forms you are trying to create. Another powerful blockage is clinging to the how rather than the what. Many become obsessed with the specific method by which their desires should manifest, drastically limiting the possibilities. Thinking substance has infinite channels of expression, many beyond your current imagination. By insisting on a specific path, you block countless other paths of manifestation. Superficial gratitude also prevents consistent results. Giving thanks is an empty ritual, without deep feeling, is like planting seeds without water. True gratitude is not just words, it is a vibrational state that opens channels for creative substance to flow. It transforms your frequency from lack to abundance, even before physical manifestation. An efficient action completes the 5 major blockages. Many confuse movement with progress, activity with productivity. They act in ways that are not aligned with their goals, dispersing energy instead of focusing it. Efficient action arises naturally from clear thinking, like water flowing through a well-defined channel. Mary deeply desired a meaningful, loving relationship. He visualized, claimed, even decorated his apartment as if he were already in a relationship. But internally, he carried wounds from past rejections and a hidden belief that relationships always end in pain. Her thinking was divided. Part of her wanted connection. Part of her feared the vulnerability required. Divided thinking is particularly destructive because it fragments your creative power. Imagine trying to drive a car by pressing the accelerator and brake simultaneously. There's movement, but also friction, wear and tear, and minimal progress. Many live exactly like this, torn between desire and fear, hope and disbelief, vision and doubt. The metaphor of radio transmission perfectly illustrates this concept. A radio station must transmit on a clear and consistent frequency to be received properly. Transmission interference doesn't create different music, it creates static. Likewise, your contradictory thoughts do not manifest something different. They create confusing and inconsistent experiences. What do you really believe? Not what you say you believe, not what you want to believe, but your deep convictions that guide your automatic thoughts. This is perhaps the most important question in working with thinking substance, because substance does not respond to your superficial statements, but to your dominant vibration. Fear and anxiety are particularly problematic because they often operate below the level of consciousness. You may be affirming prosperity while a subconscious fear of loss or scarcity silently sabotages your work. Therefore, self-awareness is fundamental. Illuminating these hidden patterns is the first step to transforming them. We are facing a portal between 2 worlds, the world of unconscious reaction and the world of conscious creation. Wallace D. Wattles didn't just identify the existence of thinking substance, he mapped out the way to live in deliberate harmony with it, integrating all the principles into a practical method for daily life. This method begins upon awakening, before the external world imposes its demands on your mind. Set aside moments of silence to consciously connect with thinking substance. Visualize not only your goals, but feel like you are already experiencing their achievement. Anticipate the gratitude you will feel by allowing this emotion to fill your being now. This is not a mental exercise, but a real communion with universal creative intelligence. Throughout the day, maintain this connection through micro moments of alignment. When challenges arise, and they will, acknowledge them without resistance, but refuse to let them define your mental state. Remember, you have a choice about how you interpret each event. Consciously choose thoughts that support your larger vision, not contradict it. Inspired action will rise naturally from this state of alignment. You will notice subtle impulses, unexpected ideas, opportunities that would previously have gone unnoticed. The key is to act when these urges arise. Do not procrastinate or question excessively. Thinking substance often communicates through these seemingly random inspirations. Unshakable trust is the fuel of this process. It is not blind faith, but a conviction based on an understanding of universal laws. Just as you do not question whether gravity will work today, you do not need to question whether thinking substance will respond to your aligned thinking. It's law, not possibility. The deepest transformation first occurs internally. Many seek manifestation to change how they feel. I will be happy when I have success, relationship, money. Wattles' approach flips this equation. When I feel like I already have success, relationship, money, the outward manifestation will naturally follow. Internal experience precedes and creates external reality. Imagine a world where more people understand these principles, where creating consciously replaces complaining helplessly, where collaboration replaces competition, because everyone understands that they are shaping the same infinite substance. where abundance replaces scarcity, because we recognize that the source is unlimited. This is not mere idealism. It is a practical possibility based on the laws that Wattles discovered. Each person who awakens to their innate creative power becomes a catalyst for collective upliftment. You are not just creating your individual reality, you are contributing to a morphogenetic field that facilitates the awakening of others. The portal between these worlds is not distant in space or time, it is in your consciousness. Here and now, the passage does not require years of spiritual discipline, although it certainly benefits from consistent practice. It just requires a willingness to take responsibility for your creative power and apply it consciously. This is the true legacy of Wallace D. Wattles, not just the identification of thinking substance, but a practical path to living in conscious partnership with it. You don't have to abandon your current life to adopt this approach. Start where you are. With the resources you have, applying these principles to everyday situations. As you integrate these practices, you will notice subtle changes that gradually accumulate into profound transformations. Synchronicities increase, solutions emerge unexpectedly, relationships harmonize, opportunities appear precisely when needed, not by coincidence or luck, but by the natural operation of the universal law that Wattles revealed. You are faced with a choice: continue creating your reality by default, reacting to the external world and perpetuating the same results, or take the reins of your innate creative power, consciously aligning yourself with thinking substance to manifest a life that reflects your highest aspiration. The portal is open, inviting you to pass through. What Wallace D. Wattles revealed about thinking substance is not just a philosophical theory. It is a practical system for deliberately creating your reality. We have seen how this intelligent substance forms all of creation, how it responds directly to your thoughts, and how you can effectively communicate with it to manifest what you desire. We also saw the blocks that prevent consistent results, contradictory thoughts, chronic doubt, attachment to methods, superficial gratitude, and inefficient action. Understanding these obstacles is the first step to overcoming them. And we explore a practical method for living in harmony with this substance, integrating aligned thinking and inspired action. Now knowledge must become experience. Information must be transformed into application. Start today with a simple experiment. Choose a small but significant desire, something you believe is possible but have not yet achieved. Take 5 minutes in the morning to visualize it clearly, feeling the anticipated gratitude as if it were already reality. During the day, observe your thoughts. When you notice contradictions to your vision, gently reorient your mind. Don't fight negative thoughts. This only strengthens them. Simply direct your attention back to what you want to create. And when you feel impulses to act, follow them promptly, trusting in the wisdom that arises from your alignment with thinking substance. Do this for 30 days, keeping a simple record of your experiences. Notice not just external changes, but internal transformations, greater mental clarity, emotional peace, heightened intuition. These are the first signs of your alignment with universal creative substance. Remember, you are not trying to manipulate the outside world. You are learning to communicate effectively with the intelligence that forms all reality, including your personal experience. This is a partnership, not an imposition of will. The more harmonious your relationship with this substance, the more natural and effortless your manifestation will be. The limitless potential that resides within you is not just yours, it is your individualized expression of the same thinking substance that creates galaxies and atoms. The same intelligence that orchestrates entire ecosystems and coordinates billions of cells in your body is available to create through your conscious thoughts. You are on the threshold of a whole new way of living, as a conscious creator rather than a passive victim of circumstances. The choice is before you right now, not at some future point when you have more time, resources, or knowledge. Now. Because now is when the power of thinking substance is available to you. Be the change you want to see. Live these principles. Share your experiences. Join the growing community of people rediscovering what Wallace D. Wattles revealed more than a century ago, that we are all conscious creators in a responsive universe, and that our greatest adventure is to awaken to this power, not just for our personal benefit, but for the elevation of all human consciousness.